Hello and welcome back to another episode of CTT, which is Chris Talks Tech. Today's video is a follow-up on the Ricoh GR3x and kind of just the shooting settings that I use and kind of a new philosophy that I have when I'm shooting with this camera. If you haven't watched the original one, then I suggest checking it out right up here. If you're returning, then welcome back. Let's jump right into the Ricoh GR3x. While we're talking right now, I'm gonna show you some of my favorite photos I've taken in the last couple months, primarily at the Vancouver Canadians games in Nat Bailey, Vancouver. So I'm gonna play those while I'm talking, and I will say that I have been tempted to buy a Ricoh GR3. I found a really good deal on one. I actually found one for 500 Canadian dollars, and I almost bought it, but then when I started to actually think about why I chose the Ricoh GR3x in the first place and my use cases for it, I realized I actually just didn't need the 28. As much as I love this camera and it would be awesome to have two with you all the time, at the same time that becomes kind of the burden, goes against the point of why I wanted the Ricoh in the first place. I wanted one camera that I could rely on as my main photo camera, and then if I needed wider, if I needed video or anything else like that, I'd use my iPhone. When I started to actually review all of my photos that I've taken with the Ricoh GR3x, I realized that the focal length is actually perfect for me, and I love the photos that I got. So the other thing that I talked about in my last video was that even though I primarily only use the JPEG, I shoot RAW and JPEG. Now this has actually changed. I've completely streamlined my workflow with the Ricoh, and that is by shooting JPEG only. And it's a little bit intimidating at first as a photographer. Like I take a shot and I'm like, well, what if I want to make that black and white, or what if I want to edit that more? And it just, part of the reason I love using the Ricoh is because it's just a point and shoot. I can shoot and get shots, and I don't want to be burdened with heavy editing after. I want to be able to take pictures, send it to my phone, and call it a day. I've actually been doing something that's even worse than just shooting JPEG, and that's actually shooting with no memory card. So one of the awesome things about the Ricoh is it comes with 2 gigabytes on board right in this camera. So with the JPEG, you get about, I don't know, 140 shots. And this is great for simulating kind of the film camera era without having to blow a whole bunch of money on film. So basically, I take this camera out, I shoot JPEGs with the internal memory, and when it's full, or when I'm done shooting for that day, I upload it straight to Lightroom into a folder. I go through and I select the ones that I like and I star them, and then I move on to the next day. So this has really become my film camera point and shoot in a digital body, and that really is why the Ricoh is awesome. It's why I can use an iPhone and a Ricoh, and I'm never not taking this thing with me when I want to take photos. Now for the look, like how I get my look on the Ricoh. I start with bleach bypass. I really love this film simulation. It works really well for New York, baseball fields, basically anything that's predominantly green, orange, red, and brown. I found it really helps give like a gritty vibe to those type of colors, and just kind of like this really gritty street photography look. So I'll show you my settings on the camera. I got bleach bypass as the starting point. For the saturation, I have +1. Then we move to the hue. I've moved it over to +2. High low key adjustment is +4. Contrast +4. Contrast highlight +2. Shadow +1. Sharpness is at 0. The toning, I move all the way to the red side. Shading is at 0, and the clarity just +1. Feel free to pause this video and I'll show you that whole thing right here so you can actually just get that without thinking. After I've gotten my shots, what I'll do is if I want to post something right away, I will transfer these over to my iPhone, and I will do one more piece of editing. And this is obviously completely optional, but I use an app called R&I Films, which I think just gives really, really nice film-like looks to your photos. It is the one little extra editing step that I will take to use my Ricoh photos. Ultimately, guys, this camera is still my go-to travel camera along with my iPhone for all the same reasons that I mentioned in the video before. If you're a Ricoh shooter and you try these settings, I'd love to know what you think and if this was helpful in any way. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of Chris Talks Tech. Peace.